Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thank you very much for joining me. I'm Jason Stephenson, and this is Welcome to Life Expansion. And it's great to have so many people on the live chat, and also if you're not live but you're joining me on a replay, I welcome you with open arms, and thank you so much for joining me. And please let me know where you guys are from, and I'll just say hello to the live chatters here. I can see Garrison, Ginny, Ina, Dreamweaver, Pamela, Ginny. Hello, welcome to you. Welcome to all this beautiful community. It's an absolute pleasure for me to come here. And also, if you can let me know where you're from and if the sound is okay for you, that would be fantastic. Excuse me. Just have a sip of my tea. And I think I saw in the chat that Adele was drinking Earl Grey, and I'm drinking Earl Grey tea. So it's lovely. Garrison, Brighton, Shiny, USA, and we've got Atlanta, Georgia from Dreamweaver. Chat shows below, not next to you. Another tech issue, so strange. Not quite sure why that's happening either. Hi Tracy. Hey Judy, Oregon, welcome. Sound is great, I can hear you, great. And VT, Pamela from VT USA, is that Vermont? I'm not actually quite sure of the VT there. Perfect, Oregon. Wonderful. Today we'll be talking about the miracles of love. Now, of course, love is such a huge, life-expansive subject that I'm not going to sit here and try and sprout off, that I know more than anyone. Or love is so expansive and there's so many levels and so complex. But I am going to give you some 5 points, I guess, pillars of love that you might be able to take something away, or at least think about or have some awareness of. Hello, Kat from Alabama, welcome. And drinking Milo sweet tea. Hi, Jennifer. And Emma, you're staying up late. It's 3 a.m. and I know in the UK. And that's right, Garrison, love is the best thing we know. And it's interesting, I did talk about love on the Lillian McDermott show just a few days ago on the Facebook Live. So some of you may have seen it. I will be repeating some of the topics. But with a live stream, it's always different because we grow and we live and we learn, and every day is a different day, and so who knows what is going to come out of my mouth. But I will say that when I first decided to do a topic on speaking about love, a voice inside my head said, who are you to think that you can talk about love? What are your qualifications? And then not long after that voice, there was another voice that said, and who are you not to talk about love? And so I took the second voice, and so I'm going to present to you today. And Dreamweaver says she watched it. Hello Brenda, welcome. Hey Cal, welcome. And Ginny. Garrison says, since we're in the topic of love tonight, Jason, I love your channel and your works, and God bless you, Garrison. Thank you so much. And welcome, Tanya. So let's get started. I'll put this chat aside so I won't see it, but if you have any questions along the way, take a note of them, and I'll open it up at the end and we can ask some questions. Okay, how does that sound? Hope that's okay for you. Hope I don't have to keep clearing my voice either. Probably should not have eaten straight away before doing this, but anyway, you get that. You live and learn. So the 5 pillars of love are what I'm going to be speaking about today. And the first topic that comes up is generosity. To be generous, to be of service to others. And this comes in so many forms, my people, my beautiful people out there. This comes in so many forms, and not just financially, but financial is a way too. But before we even go about generosity to others, we must be generous to ourselves. We can only give and we can only share with what is inside ourselves. And if we are not going to give anything to ourselves, we will have a reduced amount of what we can give out. It is so important. It's particularly important for these people in really busy households with busy jobs. You might have children, teenagers or babies. Oh goodness, it'd be full on. I could imagine, and I can only imagine. Okay, I haven't got children, but this is all the more reason that you must find some time to be generous to yourself. And it can be something simple as, taking a few moments break, or taking yourself out to the movies, or and generosity of the self goes even deeper than that. It's really listening inside to what you need to express, and not deny anything or not try and push anything down, because that is not being generous. And the way you can think about this is, if you were liken it to your inner child, the child within, or the child you from many years ago, who still is within us all. It's time now that we, if we haven't already done so, that we begin to take care of that child and begin to protect and nurture that child and to listen to that child. That is generosity. That is really being of service and beginning to listen to what is going on here. You might have something that you need to speak up about. You might have been pushing something aside for so long, and it's time to take time to listen to that. Then, when you begin to do that, you have so much more focused energy to give to other people. And here's the thing, when we give, if we remember that we are all connected, that we are all one, that separation is actually an illusion, when we're giving, we're not really, the supply is never running out, because we are actually giving to ourselves. So whilst we're giving, we're receiving. It's one and the same thing. Both the receiver and the giver are sharing a gift. And that is why it's so important too to receive as well. And some people have trouble receiving. I don't know if any of you out there in the chat box here, some people can give and give and give, but some have trouble receiving. And that's something to think about too. Okay, so I liken this to, when we cut a plant, we have cuttings from a plant and we cut off a part of the plant, and the plant doesn't die. In fact, the plant can bloom even more once we cut it down. So not only does it bloom more, but on the other side of it here, the part that we can plant, that part, we can create more abundance over here. So that's the beauty of giving, okay? There's this illusion that we are lacking in something, and this is an illusion. We are born with all the potential, all the love. We have put up walls, and we need to begin to break down those walls. And I'd like to put it out to you today. If financially is not a thing to give, you don't have to give financially. There's so many ways to give, to be of service. It can be listening to someone. It can be listening to someone is actually a rare thing. To truly listen, to listen with the heart rather than to just hear. That can be one thing. But if you can spare $4 or $5 and donate to the channel, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay, this is just want to throw that in. If you can afford $4 or $5, here's something that you can do that is an amazing gift, and it's something so simple. And I used to do this a lot when I lived back at Windang, my old hometown. I would walk up each morning to get a cup of coffee, and I'm just seeing there. Yeah, I would walk up to get a cup of coffee, and I would often leave. It was $3.80 for a cup of coffee, and I would just say, look, The next person that walks in, don't say anything, but just say that someone has paid for their coffee, and that's for the day. And it was such a joy to do that. It was so good to do that. And I would often go in the next day and they would say, this lady come in and you really made a day. She was having a terrible day, and that really made a day. So that is something that doesn't cost much, which can be so beneficial, and you will receive because it feels so good. It still feels so beautiful. So I say that if we can let's do that for this week. If we can afford it, do it. Give it a try. Just once. Give it a try. The next one I'd like to talk about is trust. And this is difficult. This can be very, very difficult if you've been on the receiving end of, someone that has abused your trust previously and maybe has wiped out a lot of your trust. And this can be like really beginning again with the process of trust. And if there's some unforgiveness there, if we haven't forgiven, trust will be really hard, because we store that, and even if it's someone different, that stays with us. So we've got to rebuild ourselves. And will you get burned if you trust? You probably will, and again and again and maybe again. But let me tell you this, personally myself, I would rather go in somewhere trusting. Now, I'm not saying blindly trusting either, guys. I'm talking about sometimes about this inner gut feeling. Of course you'll know. And of course there's circumstances where you can't just be blinded and go in and go, yes, I trust this person. I'm going to give this person whatever money or whatever time they want. Of course. Okay, this is about listening to your gut. Trusting in that gut feeling there. And I would rather sometimes just trust, and if I get burnt, I get burnt, but live fully rather than live and hold back and live in fear. That's just my take on that. You might have other stories that, justice, I like trust but verify. Yes, indeed. I could also say here that, and I brought this up in the Lillian McDermott radio show the other day, the greatest gift is when you can trust the untrusted. Sounds paradoxical, right? Sounds crazy. But there have been times in my life where I've been told by someone that you can't trust this person. You can't trust them. Don't trust them. Don't give them anything. Don't do anything. And something in my heart has said, no, I'm going to go ahead with this. I believe this is okay. Again, it's connecting with the heart. And thank goodness I have done that, because there's been some beautiful outcomes. Because what you do is when you begin to trust someone, even if they've done wrong in the past, you are giving them the chance to raise up, and you putting up that vibration of love, of trust, they can often come up to that, and they don't want to blow it. And they want to be proven right, that they can be trusted again. And again, of course, this doesn't happen all the time, but it can happen. So please listen to your gut. And if someone says, don't trust, something is telling you otherwise, why don't you try listening to your heart and your intuition? Because it might be just right too for you. Thank you, Emma. And Dream says, trust. That's huge, Jason. I had to trust you and your voice and listen and accept what you're saying in guided meditations. Yeah, thank you. And can I say, upon saying that, Dreamweaver, I also say that question. By all means, question. We can put our trust in things, but there is nothing to stop us from also questioning time and time and time again. I think that is so, so important. So I'm going to move on to the next one now, and this one is honesty and vulnerability. two separate things. I'm going to kind of blend them a little bit here. Honesty and vulnerability. And interestingly enough, again, this comes back to inside work, inner work first. Honesty to ourselves first. To be really truthful to who we are. And if something is nudging us inside that doesn't fit right or doesn't feel right, then sometimes we also have to have the courage to say no. And I be straightforward and honest with you guys. I battle with this one sometimes to this day. And this is a belief system that I need to work on, and I continue to work on a daily basis. That I come from a family that couldn't say no, my father in particular. And I saw what it was doing sometimes to the family and to my mum, and it was, kind of disastrous at times. But I'm becoming aware of this now. Well, I've been aware of it maybe the last 5 years, and I'm really, really becoming aware of it. And something inside is tugging me more and more that I have to be honest with myself, and I have to look after myself first. We really have to. Because when we go against that, and if we go and say yes to something that we really don't want, or we don't want to be there, we won't be of service to anyone or anything. We will not be fully of service to anyone or anything. There is a flip side to that. The flip side is that when sometimes I want to say no, and it might be, let's just say going out to a party. Oh no, don't want to go. Then something says, yes, I'll go. And guess what? You probably had this experience too. I have the best time ever. So there can be times of messages of of wanting to say no, but then something overrides it and you say yes, and wow, bam, it's a great time. That's another side to it. Vulnerability is a beautiful thing that some people see as a weakness. Brene Brown talks so much about the opposite of that, and saying that it's courage. Vulnerability, courage to be who you truly are, and to put yourself on the line at times, to take the risk to be fully present, to be fully there and focused, and the risk of being hurt. For instance, you want to tell someone that you love them, and you don't know whether that person is going to wrap their arms around you and hug you, or whether that person is going to reject you and run a mile away. You won't know that. But if you don't say what you want to say, if you don't do or act what you really want to do that's coming from deep within your gut, you are not living life to 100%. You are closing down in case something goes wrong. You are shutting yourself off from possibly amazing, more beautiful opportunities. And even if that person does say no, there's a reason behind that. Then you can move on. You've let it go. You've got it out there. Vulnerability comes in many forms, and sometimes even when I present here to you, I catch myself, and I'm vulnerable even presenting to you, because sometimes I think to myself, what on earth am I talking about? That voice that keeps going on in the head sometimes, and I'm not mad, but I know that there's sometimes that negative voice that's been programmed back from way back, that you're not good enough, and who do you think you are? But I'm here, I'm present, and I'm going to push through that, and I'm determined to continue to push through that. And I ask you to do your best to push through this, to push through all these parts, and particularly these programmed beliefs that are just have been ingrained with us since we're children. Here's the thing. We all, what we see is like a projector of our own mind out there, our own reality. 10 people can be seeing the same thing, but can have completely different experiences of how their world looks. Some can be overjoyed, others can be absolute tragic or heartbreak. There's so many variables. So what is real? What reality is real? It's like there's this open plate, and we paint, we project whatever it is we choose to project out there. And so this is really so important that we begin to break down the barriers of the negative talk and the self-belief that so often we've grown up with. And Ginny says vulnerability comes in many forms also, and it certainly does. It certainly does. There's many forms of vulnerability and where it comes into play. I say this, that to live life 100% and take the risk, rather than to refrain and hold ourselves back, because then we're truly not living. And what if someone told us that we had a week to live? 1 week to live. What would we do? And chances are, in that saying of that 1 week to live, we might do things that we might not speak to certain people. We might not. We will find what is truly important to us, and we will do that. And so here's the thing: we don't know when we're going to die. We don't know how long we're here for, whether we're here for this moment, today, tomorrow, a week's time, or years' time. But there are no guarantees. So it really is up to us to take that risk, to be open, and to do what we can now. Because this is the only guarantee we have, is right at this moment. And Dreamweather says, I'm glad you share this. Thank you. I come from verbal abuse in my childhood, and I've learned to love myself kindly. And absolutely so true. You know, so many of us have come from awful situations, but we must remember that is the past, and that now is the time to pull down barriers. And guys, one thing I want to share with you too is I am doing a bit of research at the moment on, I'm just moving things around on the screen, this book called A Course in Miracles by Foundation for Inner Peace, and it's a lesson each day for a full year. And I'm beginning to learn so much. And just while I've got it out there, if anyone else is studying this, I'd be very interested to know. And just also, just be very interested to know that. And if anyone's interested in also some sort of a study group, I'm just throwing that out there anyway. But this is all about breaking down the illusion of what we've projected, and that ultimately God, and that's can be anything, universal power, Buddha, Allah, whatever you choose to call it, but the thing that most is present is love, and that is what is real, and that is what exists. And everything else, we have to break down our old barriers before we begin to see a new world, and we begin to see things through fresh eyes rather than what we've been taught all the way along. And beautiful book there. Okay, I'll put that up here. And the next one, of course, is that I'd like to talk about is forgiveness. And this is a topic that can bring up a lot of things. And I know Judy says studied Course in Miracles for many years. Yeah. And Eckhart Tolle references that book a lot. Yeah. I'll move on to this forgiveness in a moment, but this book I ordered about 10. Seriously, ordered my first copy 10 years ago, and didn't read it, gave it away, wasn't the right time, just felt strange. Then I picked it up again about 2 years ago, got through a little bit of it, still put it aside. Now I'm finally doing it, and I'm sticking to it because I'm really getting deeply into it. Love it. It's truly amazing. Okay, so let's go back to forgiveness. This is one that so many of us can have trouble with, and it can be easy to see why. It's not easy, and let me put this straight before I even talk about forgiveness. It's not about when we're talking about forgiveness, it's not about saying if someone has done something to us, abused us or hurt us, or it's not about saying that that's acceptable. It's about saying, acknowledging it within you what's happened, but finally saying that I choose no longer to carry this burden in my heart. So it's putting it back to you. So in setting yourself free, you're setting the other person free. You don't need to be a part of that anymore, and you're ready to bloom. Now, is there a time to forgive and a time not to forgive? Of course there is. Your time, when you're ready. There's no right or wrong here, and you will know in your heart if you want to forgive. Some people don't want to forgive. I know an incident happened in my family, and my nana, my grandmother, never forgave, and she died not forgiving. And that was her choice. Sometimes I thought it was sad because I saw sometimes my nana had anger and resentment and bitterness about that incident, but I'm not blaming my nan. My nan, that was her choice and her decision, and so we're all at different points of forgiveness. I was talking to Lillian the other day. I went through a difficult part in my life where I was assaulted, and for a year afterwards I was furious and angry and lived in fear, and it was an awful time. But after 12, 13 months, after a lot of work, inner work, and working with a psychologist and tapping, would you believe? The psychologist gave me some tapping to do, and I chose to forgive, and I forgave, and it was the best thing I could have done, and it's the best thing I have done at that point. I let it go now. I feel absolutely no anger, no remorse, no fear, I feel neutral. I just feel neutral. And one of the most beautiful lessons of forgiveness is from you guys. Many of you may have heard this name, Immaculée Ilibagiza. She was in the Rwandan genocide back in 1994, when the two different tribes, the Hutus and the Tutsis, fought, and actually the Hutus attacked the Tutsis, and Ilibagiza was in the Tutsis, and the Hutus wiped out 3 of every 4 people in this tribe, and there's between 500,000 and 1 million people killed, and this was only back in 1994. And I encourage you to read her book called Left to Tell. I'm going to copy this and just in the chat here now, just in case you want to get this. And what she said, her parents, 2 parents were slaughtered in front of their house. Her 2 brothers were killed. Her grandparents were killed, and many friends and family right across the board were killed, and she survived. And she ended up, after witnessing and being a part of and seeing the atrocities of what had happened, just the whole community just slaughtered. She was stuck for 3 months in a bathroom, a tiny 3-foot by 4-foot bathroom with a toilet and a sink, with 6 other people, and for 3 months, and they couldn't stand and sit at the same time. She went through absolute horror, and she forgave. And she said, I don't want to give them more luggage in my heart, or I don't want to carry more luggage in my heart. They've given me enough. And so she let go, and she forgave, and she actually went to the prison that the prisoner that killed her parents, and she forgave him. And she did say, I'll quote this. She said, "Once I saw him face to face," she said, "the forgiveness all became normal." She asked him, "How can you have done this, killing so many people? You can't have been at peace." And in rags he seemed small and confused. "I wanted to reach out to him," she said. "I cried, and then he himself started to cry." And she forgave him and left the prison. And even the prison guard was angry at her for forgiving, because he gave Ilibagiz permission to hit and spit on the man, and gave her a baton of some sort to beat the man. And she didn't go there for that. She said, "That won't bring back my people. That won't do anything." And a most beautiful, beautiful story on forgiveness. It really is. And so am I saying to you right now to forgive if you're going through something? No. What I am saying to you is only to think about it, and you will know in your heart if you want to forgive or if you choose not to forgive. But in forgiving, there is a certain freedom that comes with that, a certain release and a weight. And Ilibagiza talks about the weight that just left her shoulders. And now she goes on the talking circuit worldwide, talking about what had happened, the genocide, and also forgiveness. Amazing story. And I'm going to give you a link that you can watch. I'll give this to you at the end here, but I'm going to give you a link that you can watch her story, and it's truly just amazing. It's on 60 Minutes or something. And finally, I think I'm up to finally. Yes, I am. Finally, I want to talk about open-mindedness. And open-mindedness is, I say it's opening not only the mind, but it's opening your heart. Let me just have a sip of my cup of tea here. It's recognizing when we open our minds, it's recognizing that we might not be right. As I said before, we all see the world through our own projection, our own, what do you call it? Not brainwashing, but it's kind of like brainwashing. All our own beliefs that we've all been handed down, you see. We're seeing it through our eyes, and other people are seeing it through their eyes. And if we can only just sometimes just take a step back and not try to have to be right or to prove ourselves right, but to say, maybe they've got a point. Maybe they've got a point. Or maybe they're right. I need to look into that. I can look deeper into that. We can sometimes drop this ego. This ego gets a bit too big and gets a bit of a chip on his shoulder, and we can drop it. So, next time if you're in a bit of a battle, argument or something, and you're both trying to fight and prove that who's right, and the big one that comes up for me is, and I'm not going into it, is vaccinations. And there's a huge anger that comes up over vaccinations, and you've got the pro-vaxxers and the anti-vaxxers, and what is to say that there might be parts of both of them that could be right? But because everyone is so fired up about their belief, and that's what it is, a lot of times it's a belief. Sure, there's been science, but there's still some belief involved that I'm right, you're wrong, this is the way to go. And it's just bang, bang, bang. And we will never get anything resolved, or we can never achieve anything in life if we just come from a place of straight up, this is my belief, I'm right, you're wrong. No, it's not going to work. We'll never get anything done. It comes to my mind, many years ago when they thought the earth was flat, and they believed that. They truly believed that. And then it was disproved and they said the earth was round. And then at first that guy was mocked. I mean, this is just, this is a crazy thing. And now there's people that say the earth is flat now. Who is to tell what on earth, what on earth is going on? But who is to tell? There's all different things in these are just different arguments and different debates. But let's just go into things with an open mind, and we might just learn something. We might have the opportunity to learn something. I'm just seeing here if I've got anything that, no, I haven't. But what I want to do, I'm going to open it up to some questions. But before I do that, I want to give you this link. And maybe just directly after the show, when you've had enough, you can go this and you can look at Immaculate's story here on Facebook, and you can see her story and just listen to it. It's very, very powerful. So I'll put that up there. And Seal says, hello Seal, and we must all decide these things for ourselves and let others believe what they want, to respect each other's point of view. Nailed it, Seal. And that's exactly what you said, is let others believe what they want. You see, because that's what it is. It's all a belief. And so possibly there is no right and wrong, but many, many shades of grey. Robin says, respect all choices, balance your empathy, explore the win-win-win. Beautiful. The name of the first book that I discussed today is called Left to Tell, and it's on audiobook as well, and the audiobook is absolutely powerful. Oh my goodness, it was so powerful. I listened to it in one sitting. It was amazingly, it's pretty horrific because it explains in great detail, but wow, what a book. And Seal's on a Sufi retreat in the mountains, and good for you, Seal. Good for you. Yeah. So if there's any questions you guys have at all, please feel free to throw them out here now. I'll just see if we can I can go back, and I might have missed something. That's a good point, Adele. Adele says, I think that forgiveness, I need to understand the actions. And sometimes I can't understand why someone would do some atrocities. And it's really hard. And I don't think, Adele, that we will ever understand why some people commit these. I don't think we ever will. I still think that ultimately everyone wants to be loved, and I think that some people along the way get very, very screwed up, and very, very painful inside, and so their perception of the world is right out of whack. It's so, yeah. The author of A Course in Miracles. It's actually put out by the Foundation for Inner Peace. If you look up that, you will know it. It's a lady who wrote it, and a man transcribed it. And interestingly enough, what was the lady's name that wrote it? She was an atheist and a psychologist. I'm just going to see if someone will probably find it. The reason why she did not want her name published is because she believed that this was channeled through her, and she put aside all ego and did not want her name mentioned. She thought it was bigger than me, and I loved what she said there. It was bigger than her. Cal, you went to sleep, and this will be uploaded to the channel. Yes, no problem. You can see this, Cal. No problem at all. And Robin, good point here, that I think many are so stuck in fear they lose focus on truth and genuine love. That sums up a lot, Robin. Yeah, the opposite of love is the fear, and they're just so fearful. And yeah, good point there. Dreamweaver says, Jason, did you find it easier as you got older to let go of certainty? I think every day, every single day, I'm finding it easier and easier. Every day. Yes. And I think the more work we do on ourselves, the more inner work we do, the more reflection, the more meditation, the easier it becomes to accept that anything is possible and anything can happen, and that our time here right now in the physical body is limited. But that's okay, because spiritually we're ongoing forever. Infinity. And Carol says, excellent, Jason, I've also forgiven, and it's beautiful. Good on you, Carol. You're most welcome, Kim. It's lovely to have you guys. And as I said, if anyone is doing the Course in Miracles or is considering doing it and is interested in a study group of some sort, just an informal group, it's nothing. We're all students, we're all teachers. Just leave a note there, and if enough people are interested, then it's something that I might pick up on. So, because it's good to bounce ideas off each other and to share what we learn along the way. Yeah, Adele says, perhaps the phrase letting go works for me better than forgiveness. Absolutely. Perfect. Yeah, let's push aside the words, because let's not get too hung up with the words, and if letting go fits for you and that makes it easier, then so be it. Good thing. And Kim says, I'm finding it easier as I get older too, Jason. The ego is so strong when we are younger. We are so full of piss and vinegar. Getting older, these things just don't seem to matter as much. I love that. We are so full of piss and vinegar. Never heard that one, but I like it. It's beautiful. And Floor says we need to reprogram ourselves to not to be attached to things, to people, and to beliefs. Yeah. Well, my friends, before we go, I'm going to draw out a card. And this might just offer us... I've got these new cards called Divine Guidance. And I'm just going to give them a bit of a shuffle and draw one out before we go. And it might be something that you can take with. Okay, so I'll just imagine that this is your hand coming here. Okay, this is the one. Here we go. Small amounts, speaking of generosity, small amounts of money will become available. Use them wisely. Small amounts of money. Maybe that's the chance you can take if you get that small amount, you can take it to the coffee shop and shout someone a coffee. Yeah, do what you want with it. Take what you want out of that. Oh my, it's been a pleasure meeting you guys, and I love you very much, and thank you very much for joining me today. And we'll be back next week, the same place at the same time, and I wish you all peace and love. Yeah, love. If you feel like you've liked this, you want to share it, please share it. If you want to subscribe, please hit the subscribe button, and it'll be great to have you back. We'll do it once again. Okay. I'm just looking at the peace and vinegar, exuberance or enthusiasm, especially to an excessive degree. It's a great term. I love that one. I've never heard that. I'm going to use that one sometime. Okay. Thank you guys. Much love. Bye-bye.